Hello everyone, it's me again. Today I will recap the movie A Haunting in Venice. This is the hottest detective movie of 2023, the sequel in the series based on Agatha Christie's novels. Continue Poirot's investigation journey through thrilling cases, bringing moments of suspense and breathlessness. He is known as the successor of Sherlock Holmes, with a sharp crime-solving style, outstanding intelligence, and exquisite observation skills. To know how smart this detective is, please follow today's recap. The movie begins in 1947 in Venice, Italy. This old man with a mustache is the famous Detective Poirot. He has a habit of being meticulous to every millimeter. Although he is a genius at solving crimes, he has now washed his hands of the sword. Vitale, a retired former policeman, has become Poirot's bodyguard. Every day, there was a long line of people waiting for him to solve cases. One day, Vitale came to inform Poirot that a friend was coming to visit. It was the novelist Mrs. Oliver, who wrote novels about him. She said that her 3 recent novels had been disastrous failures. This time she came here, wanting to ask Poirot to appear again, so that she could write about a difficult case. Then, she invited the detective to attend a Halloween festival at an ancient castle, which included a séance by a famous psychic. That night, Poirot went to the ancient castle as promised. This place was extremely dark and gloomy. Outside, the children were excited, waiting for the Halloween party. But welcome for them was a ghost story show on a projector screen. A long time ago, this castle used to be an orphanage during the war, when an epidemic broke out, and the children were locked up by the doctors, leaving them hungry and thirsty. They fought each other until their last breath. Therefore, the mark of revenge is the hidden terror in this castle. After listening to the story, the detective sighed to himself. Isn't that too scary? Finally, the castle door was opened. The Halloween party officially began. Here, the host of the party was Mrs. Rowena, a famous opera singer in this country. However, Poirot wondered why a famous person like her was in such a dilapidated place. Then Oliver revealed that Mrs. Rowena hired a shaman to summon the spirit of her daughter, who was said to have been disturbed by the ghost in this castle, to the point of mental illness and jumped to her death. At the same time, the psychic Reynolds also arrived, with a strange mask. As soon as she met the host, she began to take off her mask and started telling stories. After that, Oliver also introduced Reynolds to Poirot. Here, 2 people having a conversation. While Reynolds prided himself on her ability to talk to the dead, Poirot believed only in justice and logical science. As soon as he finished speaking, the chandelier next to him suddenly fell down, and Psychic had the opportunity to show off. You saw it. The Halloween party ended, everyone left, except for those who attended the séance. The invited character this time was Alicia, the beautiful daughter who grew up in the boundless love of her mother. Then one day, her daughter fell in love with a boy, who was also her personal chef. Their love did not last long, when the young girl began to encounter ghosts in the castle, making her mentally worse and weaker. One day, Alicia said the children were calling her. That night, the young girl officially sought death. Even more horrifying was the mark of revenge imprinted on the unfortunate girl's back. The housekeeper, Semenoff, also said that the furniture in the room had been kept in the same place since the young mistress passed away. Outside, a rainstorm was raging. Inside, the guests were all gathered in a room. The medium was busy preparing for the séance. 10 people were present: the novelist Oliver, Poirot and his bodyguard, the mistress of the castle Rowena and her housekeeper, Richard the fiancé of Miss Alicia, the doctor and his son Leopold, and the psychic Reynolds, along with her assistant. With the intuition of a detective, Poirot always observed the people present. Reynolds told Leopold to go out and play, and he replied clearly, "I also want to see Miss Alicia. She is also my friend, and most of all, I am not afraid of ghosts, because I often talk to them here." Then Reynolds also began the ritual, with the typewriter in the corner of the room, out of her reach. She began to mumble strange incantations, making Oliver shiver. Suddenly her finger flicked down. The typewriter typed the letter Y, making everyone stunned in fear. Poirot was not pleased, wanted to expose her tricks. When Reynolds called Alicia's name, the letter A appeared. She asked again if anyone had heard her. At this time the letter Y was typed down, meaning yes. At the climax, Poirot turned on the light to expose her tricks. He went to the chimney, drag out a man. It turned out that this person was Desdemona's brother, Reynolds' female assistant. Poirot held up a remote control device. He said he had noticed a man's footprints around the fireplace, and the lock had scratches, indicating that it had been picked. Now Reynolds could not deny her tricks. Suddenly her chair spun, her body began to twist in pain. She strangled herself, then screamed in Alicia's voice, "Thirsty! So thirsty!" Rowena was stunned, because it was her daughter's voice. Next, she asked Rowena in Alicia's voice, "Why did you abandon me? I didn't jump off there, someone killed me." Then, the chair spun a second time, the medium kept screaming. At this moment, a bell rang. The balcony door was blown open, and the typewriter typed the letter M by itself. An eerie silence enveloped the castle. Poirot also went out to the balcony to check, but there was still no explanation. While everyone thought that it was Alicia's ghost coming back to claim her life. After the séance ended, the doctor examined Reynolds' health, and said that she was still healthy. Meanwhile, Oliver was pleased, saying that the next works would be very interesting, because even the famous detective Poirot was helpless with the case. He was even more determined to unveil this play. Then, he went to talk to Reynolds. She was proud of her work, the one who shouldered the mission of soothing the pain of the living, helping them fulfill the wishes of the deceased. These things accidentally touched the heart of Poirot, who had lost faith before the devastating consequences of war. While the detective was sad, Reynolds suddenly put on a mask and put her cloak on him, then smiled and left. The clock had already struck 12 o'clock at night. Poirot was now in the medium's cosplay. He came across a basin of water and plump apples. He lifted the mask, bowed his head, and took a sip of cool water. At this moment, someone attacked and pushed his head into the basin. At this moment, Vitale rushed in just in time, successfully saving him. While piecing together everything that had just happened, he suddenly remembered that the clothes he was wearing belonged to Reynolds, and he knew that something bad was about to happen. At this moment, the two heard a loud scream. Someone fell down, crashing straight into the statue below. By the time everyone ran over, it was too late, and it turned out that the victim was Reynolds. The scene was even more horrifying, as the storm outside was getting more and more intense. After that, Rowena made Poirot a cup of honey tea to help him calm down after the sudden attack. When Vitale went straight to where the phone was hidden to call for help, this small detail did not escape the detective's sharp eyes. He said that help could only approach the castle after the storm, because moving between the canals was impossible at this time. This made everyone even more confused. They began to criticize and suspect each other. At this time, the Holland brothers accidentally revealed Reynolds' background. It turned out that she was a nurse who had previously served in refugee camp. This made everyone immediately think of the children's revenge on the nurse, and they believed even more blindly in this haunted castle. Seeing this, Poirot locked all the doors. He declared that everyone present could be a suspect. Then, he ordered his bodyguards to report the case to the police without delay. Poirot began to question them one by one. First, the owner of the castle, Mrs. Rowena. She said that she had been in the concert hall before midnight. He asked her to take him to the terrace, which was her and her daughter's favorite garden. But since losing her daughter, she had left everything and her bees in ruins, even her own singing career. Poirot questioned her about inviting Reynolds, and she said that it was Reynolds who had initiated the meet. The next person to be interviewed was the housekeeper, Oliver. She was a superstitious person who believed that the castle was cursed. She also said that she had been with her mistress in the concert hall when the murder occurred. Poirot asked the housekeeper if she was sure that her mistress had entered the concert hall at exactly midnight, and she was sure because she had looked at her watch when her mistress entered the room. He then asked Oliver to clarify her background. She was a nun before she became a housekeeper. Suddenly, during the interrogation, Poirot heard ghostly sounds, while the housekeeper sitting there did not hear anything. In addition, he saw a stream of water, forming the letter M on the wall, which was the same letter M on the typewriter. When he went closer to check, he did not see any water there. He realized that he was experiencing a strange hallucination. Later, he went to interrogate the doctor who was examining Reynolds' body and discovered that her body also had the mark of seal of revenge. The detective discovered that her watch stopped at 12:05. Suddenly, the doctor shouted angrily and smashed things. Leopold had to speak up to calm his father. It turns out that he suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder after witnessing countless war victims in a Nazi concentration camp. This caused him to give up his medical career, until Rowena hired him to treat Miss Alicia. Poirot went to the toilet to wash his face. He turned the knob all the way, but no water came out. He also saw the creepy figure of a woman in the mirror. He turned his head, but surprise, it was gone. Now the water started to flow, but it was hot water. He continued to interview the boy Leopold. Although he was still young, this boy showed surprising maturity. He almost understood his father's work as a doctor, and he even controlled his father's psychosis. The boy said that he was with his father in the kitchen at the time of the murder. Not only that, he also revealed that he often talked to the ghosts in this castle, even considered them his friends. At this moment, the hallucinations made Poirot lose his composure when solving the case. He continued to interview the Holland brothers and very quickly discovered their fake passports. The two brothers confessed everything they knew. It turned out that these two brothers were refugees from Romania. They confessed that they had helped Reynolds and had set up the whole trick during those seances. All they did was to earn some money to settle in America. At this moment, Vitale announced that the phone had been disconnected, so they could not report it to the police yet. At this moment, Poirot caught a shadow passing by, along with a strange voice. When he followed it, he saw Alicia as a child, exactly like the photo he had seen in her room. He even talked to it, and just as he asked her if she knew who had pushed Reynolds down the statue, Oliver suddenly appeared, and Alicia disappeared. At that moment, everyone heard a strange sound. They ran out to the castle courtyard. It was clear that the sound came from below. They went down to the basement to investigate. There, evidence of war crimes appeared before their eyes. This devastated the doctor, causing another psychotic episode. He attacked Maxime, who was trying to calm him down. Fortunately, Leopold was able to calm his father down in time. An unusual contrast when the boy hugged his father to comfort him. It was a precious thing for a child to do for his father. But through it, it also showed how great the loss him had suffered was. At this time, Vitale also discovered strange sounds, which were big waves caused by the storm. After taking the sedative, the doctor mumbled something about bees to Poirot. Then, Mrs. Rowena locked the door and gave the only key to Poirot to keep. He continued to interview Maxime's fiancée, M, clearly referring to his name. The young man listened to him, was so excited that he accidentally cut his hand. Oliver saw a jar of honey nearby, telling him to apply it to the wound to disinfect it. Maxime lifted his hand to taste it, and found the honey tasted strange. Then, he revealed that he loved Alicia very much. It was Alicia's mother who forbade their relationship, causing Alicia to give up her engagement with him. This showed that Maxime could not have received the invitation from Mrs. Rowena, that is, other people sent this invitation to him. The last person was Vitale, Poirot's bodyguard. The detective pointed out that he had been to this castle before because he knew where the phone was hidden. More surprisingly, Poirot also knew that the last time he was a police officer was the night of the murder of Miss Alicia. Moreover, he also got the clue that Alicia was murdered. At the same time, he also exposed the plan of 3 people, including Oliver, Vitale, and Reynolds. The trance scene was staged by them. The information that Alicia was murdered was provided to Reynolds. It turned out that none of their actions had escaped the eyes of his detective. While everyone was still focusing on Reynolds, Oliver had secretly carried out a plan, a very elaborate setup, to make he believe in the spiritual world. However, that was not enough for this genius detective. He also knew their motives. Reynolds would be famous after the event, and as for Oliver, she would have another hot topic. This would revive her declining position, and Vitale simply wanted money to support his struggling family. After being exposed, Oliver said that she was the one who built him reputation, so she thought she could use his name to bring back her glory through this plan. Finally, she denied that she was the one who killed Reynolds. At this moment, Semenoff entered, saying that something was wrong with the doctor. As soon as Poirot opened the door, the doctor had passed away. Everyone was even more convinced that this was the work of the devil. Obviously, this could not have been done by a human, when the key was in the hands of Poirot. At this time, he also hesitated a bit, wondering if this castle was haunted or not. He once again went into Alicia's room. When he looked into the mirror, he saw Alicia's silhouette in it, which startled him, and accidentally broke the mirror. This made the bird fly away, knocking over the teacup on the table. Therefore, Poirot discovered half a photo of Alicia's fiancé. As if it were a premonition, he suddenly realized something. Thanks to that, he summoned everyone to the hallway, saying that, thanks to the doctor's death, he was able to solve all the previous mysteries. Poirot named the culprit behind everything, Mrs. Rowena, a mother who loved her child blindly, not wanting her daughter to leave her. The garden only grew one type of flower, and it was used to feed the bees for honey. The key point was, this flower contained a hallucinogenic poison. He himself was also poisoned, with a cup of honey tea from Rowena, explaining all the ghostly hallucinations he had to witness all night. She regularly fed Alicia that honey, in order to make her daughter mentally weak. unable to reunite with her fiancé Maxime. That means, her daughter was not possessed by a demon, but was poisoned by the loving mother herself. One day, Semenoff replaced Rowena to take care of the young lady. Alicia had an attack of pain, due to the prolonged poisoning, so the housekeeper accidentally put double the amount of honey in the tea, causing her young mistress to die. And when she learned that her little daughter had left the mortal world, she staged her daughter's death, saying it was due to spiritual demonic forces. Furthermore, Rowena was a legendary singer. How could she not have the money to renovate this old castle? There was only one reason for this. She was blackmailed to the point of exhaustion by someone who knew the truth. When she could no longer pay, she was forced to eliminate the blackmailer, and her two suspects were Reynolds and the doctor. At first, she mistook Poirot for Reynolds, so she changed her target to kill the psychic immediately afterwards. The clock in the concert hall had been adjusted. Therefore, Semenoff saw the mistress with her at midnight. As for the doctor, Rowena did not directly take action, but used his son to threaten him. The father was mentally disturbed and could only follow the threat. Exposed, she ran to the roof. When Poirot arrived, in the flickering light, he saw Alicia's image floating behind her, and he could not know whether the departure of the blindly loving mother was really caused by spiritual forces. The next morning, police take over the rest of the three murders. The boy Leopold admitted that he was the blackmailer because his father had lost the ability to work. He learned the truth from his father's autopsy notes. But he did not blame this smart but pitiful boy. He allowed Semenoff to adopt Leopold. He asked the boy to take the remaining money and buy 2 tickets for the Holland brothers to return to America with them. Before leaving, Leopold asked him, "They helped you solve the case, did you hear her?" This unanswered question seemed to show that Poirot was still stuck between the boundary of spirituality and logical science. But anyway, it also gave the talented detective a new source of motivation, which was the belief in justice. Through that, Poirot continued his famous path of solving cases. The movie ends here. A Haunting in Venice is a movie worth watching for those who love the detective genre and want to experience a new story, combining investigation and supernatural elements. Thank you very much for your support, so that the channel can develop like today. If you find it interesting, please give me a like and a comment about your feelings about this movie. Especially, please subscribe to the channel to follow my movie recap. See you again, dear friends.